Welcome to the Voice of Houston. I'm your co-host, Bobby Mills, and our host, Dr. Clara Brandt, is on vacation, so I'll be your host for today, and we want to remind you to download our free app, UHN-TV. Also, remember to vote. It's very important. There's an upcoming midterm election, and it's very, very important that we go out and vote because it is important. It is a sacred right that you have. Father's Day is this Sunday. Remember your dad, because your father is your teacher, and he has to train you in the way of the Lord. And also remember that today basically is the celebration of Juneteenth. And when we in Texas realized that we had been duped for a couple of years or so, and we were free, and they didn't want us to know that we were free, so we had to work for freedom and not for free, but they didn't let us know that. So they still got free labor from us. Today we have a very special, very, very special program. We have the mayor of Prairie View, Texas, a premier college town, headed up by Dr. Ruth Simmons at Prairie View A&M University. And we have Mayor Ron Leverette with us from the city. He just got reelected as the mayor on May 7th. Previously, he had served a couple of terms before as mayor, and terms are 2 years, and so he will have served 3 2-year terms, a total of 6 years. But we understand that there is some confusion among the political leaders in Prairie View. So before we get off into all of that, just tell us something about yourself, Mayor Leverette, your background and how long you've been in Texas and your vision for the city of Prairie View.
Well, Ben, I'd like to say thanks for inviting me to come to this show.
It's our honor.
My wife and I, Earlene, have been in Texas since 1973. We came to Prairie View to work at the university, Prairie View A&M University. And getting to Prairie View I thought Prairie View was a city like Pine Bluff, A&M, where I graduated.
Right.
And coming to Prairie View, I was looking for a city. Prairie View had a really good football team, and they used to beat us. And I thought sure that
was your forte.
That was my
football.
Forte. I just knew Prairie View was a city like Pine Bluff, and just got there and didn't realize it wasn't a city. It was a rural area between Waller and Hempstead, and we got there and we vowed that we'd stay there only about 3 years, and we're gonna be out of there. But for some reason, Prairie View.
But you fell in love with Prairie View.
We did. I mean, it was something about it that caused me to get involved, and I said, I saw a future. I said, I can see help developing this town in some kind of way. I saw Houston being as close as it was.
Growing metropolitan
area. West 34th out this area was a long ways from Prairie View at that time.
Houston is one of the finest cities in the country and the world, fourth largest city in America.
Yes.
And very diverse culturally and ethnically.
Just coming from, again, and you mentioned Juneteenth. Yesterday I was fortunate enough to be invited to serve on a Juneteenth program. Many people might know that there was a slave cemetery in Prairie View. And they had a nice program yesterday that I did a proclamation for it in honor of that program, and had an opportunity to...
At the cemetery?
At the cemetery. They had a very nice program at the cemetery. They cleared it. I was seeing the tombstones of ex-slaves that cultivated that area. It had a lot to do with the original 14 families that were had some representatives. Actually, 2 representative descendants were there at the scene at the celebration yesterday. So I thought that was very.
In the Texas State Senate?
No, citizens of Prairie View.
Prairie View, oh.
Who were immediate descendants of the slaves.
Slaves, oh.
Yes, they were. And it was a very touching ceremony.
Right. Because they had to be fairly up in age.
Yes, they were. But they were there.
They were there.
And they remembered and told some great stories.
Right.
So it was very interesting to me, and I learned a lot even yesterday. One of the things I brought out to them that might be a little bit interesting was a few years ago when they were building the freeway, Highway 290 extending through Prairie View.
Headed toward the great city of Austin.
Yes, sir. Well, that highway was originally was supposed to go around the backside of Prairie View, not through the city of Prairie View. And we know that development takes place along highways. The traffic. I mean, even coming here today, the traffic is almost bumper to bumper. And with all of that traffic coming through, creates economic development. And what happened as a highway department, when I was mayor, the first time I was mayor, the highway department representative came out and one Saturday was telling me that, he was showing me the direction that they were going to go to build the highway. In the process of taking me out on that back road to show the directions of where the highway was going to go, he was going right through the cemetery. The highway was scheduled. They had already drawn it and ready to go through a ranch that is right next to the cemetery called Clover S Ranch, and he said that they had deeded the property was already provided for the highway department. And
they were just going to destroy a historic burial.
Well, they didn't know it was there. And I took the gentleman from the highway department out and said, well, how are you going to build a highway and destroy it? This is a cemetery. He said, well, we don't show it. And I took him out and showed him the grave sites and the markers of the old tombstone. And he paused and he said, shook his head. He said, well, we're not going to be able to do it. Therefore, they had to take the freeway straight through Prairie View. And, I told a story yesterday. I said, even the slaves in those days had no idea. It had to be God sent that. They had something to do with the new development, the future development of Prairie View. And Prairie View is about to grow. There are a lot of this right between. We have the university at Prairie View University, nestled between the city of Waller and Hempstead. One of the largest economic developments in Waller County.
And Prairie View University now is rated as among the top 3 HBCUs in the country.
That is correct. And they're growing, and I'm proud of the fact that to say that Prairie View University, home of, in the city of Prairie View, Texas. I like to say that. I like to let people
home of the Panthers.
Home of the Prairie View Panthers, right in our city.
Well, good. So you got reelected May the 7th. So tell us what has transpired from the time you got reelected up until now.
Well, I kind of have to go back to even deciding because I guess 8 months
the mayor's office.
Right, 8 months ago probably I had no intention of
seeking re-election.
Seeking re-election. I go to all the council meetings, and I have been on committees, and I've been. It's like sitting in the bleachers watching a baseball game. And you see the plays, and you understand the game because you played the game before.
Right, but you're still in the bleachers.
But you're still in the bleachers, so you can't call no shots.
Right.
But you know the game, and so I'm watching. I'm making comments, and they not hearing me. So
about what's going on in City Hall.
They know you know the game too because you've been there a long time.
You had to ask the Marvin Gaye question. What's going on?
What's going on? How long?
Yeah.
So.
And what was going on?
What's going on?
What should be going on?
And we have some young people that are on city council that, even some younger people on city council that I'm older than their parents. And they're on city council making decisions, taxpayers for the decisions for taxpayers. How
taxpayers'
money's going. And finally, it came to me with a little encouragement. So I had some people, our taxes are going up. We just passed a $8 million bond issue, and it passed, and taxes are going up, and property values are dropping, and things are happening, and the taxpayers were beginning to ask me.
So the taxpayers were really getting screwed.
Right, well, yes, in a sense they were beginning to get nervous about a lot of things that's going on because we got younger people making decisions for us and moving on, going to Prairie View because the students can vote in the election. So finally after
Prairie View students can vote if they claim Prairie View as their legal residence.
That is correct. As long as they're in school living in the dormitories, they can vote. And
in
they
city
can,
elections.
In city elections, and they can also run for office. So we've had several city students in over a period of time in the local government of the city. So after encouragement from a few of the older people and taxpayers, I decided to go ahead, and it came to me. I said, well, I guess I'll go ahead and try it again. Once I filed, it came to, said, I don't know, it's going to be tough for Leverette to win this one. It was a race of six. It was six.
Six individuals in the race.
Including myself, six. It's going to be really tough.
All African American.
All African American. It's going to be really, really tough. And you'd have seen.
But the city secretary is white.
Yes, sir.
And the city attorney
is white. Right. And
so more power is held by those two individuals probably than members of city council.
Well, yes,
because in that regard, your city secretary handles the agenda. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And the legal aspects and dynamics of money in terms of accountability, how it's spent, etc., you got that being overseen in many, many ways by a white lawyer that comes from Austin.
That is correct.
So you got a little bit of confusion going on.
Well, we do, and I think as I said, I believe the citizens were beginning to pick up on a lot of things that were going on. We having questions about the former mayor living in the city of Prairie View, having an address in the city, but not residing in the city.
So the former mayor lived where?
Well, they really didn't know for sure where he lived, but
they knew that he didn't live in the city of Prairie View.
They knew he didn't live in the city of Prairie View. He said he did, but it's obvious that he did live.
Was that a part of the city charter that if you are the mayor or on city council that you have to reside in the city?
Yes.
Okay.
But if you have a resident, let's say if he rented an apartment or had an address in the
So
city.
you could fake it and let me fake it and shake it and whatever.
Yeah, I think
by
that was
just
right.
running the place, but not really have that as your
Yes,
residence. It's just on paper.
on paper. And being I call it a
Well, I guess that's
part-time.
why people say that politics is a pile of you know what.
Well, it can be. And
Sometimes, anyway.
well, you know, it's a firm. I live in Prairie View. We built a home in Prairie View,
Pay taxes.
paid taxes in Prairie View, and to establish something for me to
Wife
really,
works in Prairie View.
right, and to establish one thing I did at the time. I was working at the university when we decided to build, and to try to bring the city.
What was your role at Prairie View, the
I was
university?
in media technology. I was in media technology
You was in media technology.
And one of the things that I wanted to do was to try to, when I got involved, even with the city council, to bring this university and the city together, because I felt that with all the knowledge and wisdom that the university had, and we're a small developing city, 98% African Americans at the time, that certainly we should be able to come together, because not going to Prairie View, not being from Texas, it gave me a different view of the whole area, of the whole area. And it was difficult for me to really understand why the university and the city was not together. It was a divide.
So you were trying to position the university to
Correct.
really become more of a communiversity
That is correct.
rather than a university.
Right. Even when I got there, when I found out, when I started.
'Cause you didn't want to be an ebony tower.
No, I did not.
You know, now we know that the other folk have them an ivory tower, but we can't afford to have an ebony tower.
Right. But one of the things I did to try to do something, I went out and got some students in the architect department, and I drew up a little sketch of a house that I thought I wanted to build, and I got the architect students to draw the plans. Well, the instructors divided the class into 3 sections and gave them some opportunities to do something as a class project. And they came up with 3 different versions. And the one that I saw, I said, that's the one that I want. That's the house I want. They drew the blueprints. I paid them for their material. And I took it to some local contractors. And the house that I live in right now was designed by students
at Prairie
View. And I'm always encouraging Prairie View to participate and be involved in stuff that's going on there. I mean, I'm still doing it right now. I'm encouraging local participation in construction, anything that we can do to improve the viability of
overall quality of
life right in Prairie View. There's a lot of talent in Prairie View.
Well, that's what government should be about, improving the quality of life universally for everyone.
Well, that's really to me, that's what we should be about public service.
Right.
By the people, all the people. But sometimes we get involved in public service and we forget about the people and it's about self. Right. And I think
that's the sad part about politics and politicians, that once you go in the smoke-filled room, you get a lot of smoke and dirt on you because politics becomes, a search for and a desire for power and money. And as the old folks say, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But that's not what leadership is all about. Leadership is about being a servant. And a lot of people in politics tend to forget that when when you get elected to public office, it's about serving people, the community, and its needs, not trying to ingratiate yourself and become, wealthy. So once you got reelected to the position in May 7th, you had a vision for what you wanted to do as mayor and what needed to be corrected. So what happened when you went to City Hall to unlock the door?
Well, I didn't have anything to unlock with. First of all, let me say this to you, that the city government changed. We went from a general law city to a home rule city while I was out.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Well, a general law city is general law for the state of Texas. You just operate under the law of the state of Texas.
Universal law for
right,
the state
and you
of
can
Texas.
kind of make the laws as you go as long as you stay.
Within that framework.
Right, but home rule, you develop a charter. The people voted in the home rule charter, and the charter has a lot of room for diversity or development. And the problem that I think that we ran into in Prairie View was when the charter passed, and it has to do with the population. And once it passed, it didn't have enough development in it in the cells of the charter. It basically passed with the mayor at the time being the executive director for the whole city. He didn't have a city manager. He just had that the mayor was the head boss.
So you had a fairly strong mayoral form
Yes.
of government where the authority to make decisions and enact policy and procedures that are legislated by the city council. The mayor had that authority.
The mayor had that authority. You had a part-time city council, young city council, that they didn't really understand. I didn't think they really understood a lot of
They come in, bip bam.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. They come in.
But the mayor at that time had some experience before. He worked at the university. He understood a lot. He had a lot of connection with the students.
Yeah, the interaction between university and the community and all of that.
So it created a lot of strength within the mayor, without a lot of control
And confusion.
That went on. The next mayor, after I think that for some reason down the line, the mayor did not have the time. I think some policies changed because I think the way that the government that was set up at the time was you could hold two governmental positions as long as at the same time, as long as you didn't get paid, except one.
Just one.
So the mayor at the time
Not paid from both.
couldn't get any pay well, he could get paid from one, but not both. Well, I think the law might have changed that you couldn't hold two government positions because he finally decided not to run. Well, that still opened the door for the next mayor to come in and pick up the seat, not being, employed by the university. It gave the next mayor an opportunity to be a strong mayor. Same setup. A lot of room to move without a city manager. So that gave him a lot of power. And
so consequently, then you had a political tug of war with a series of moral leadership problems.
Yes.
That ensued from all of that.
Yes, because it gave the mayor a chance to move around the city, around the country, being strong enough to cut a lot of deals or make a lot of promises, and a lot of those promises wasn't met, and a lot of deals were being made. I say deals. I mean, some good, probably some bad. But at the same time, it gave the mayor too much power. Well, over a period of time, I think some of the citizens got together and said, we need to change this because it's obvious based on some audits. It showed that the mayor was really mismanaging resources. And that was public information. Well, in the process of that, they drew a couple committees and put together a team to come up with a city management form of government. Well, the process with that was the mayor selected the people who would put the city manager in place. So that got to be a political ball game. So
got to be what we might call Rama in Alabama.
Well, you end up
you know what kind of Rama I'm talking about.
Right. You end up start putting people on there with fix a charter that even though you're gonna have a city manager, it will still keep me in power. So that got to be a problem.
Because the city manager would just be an image.
Well, no, the city manager would really manage, but the city manager it would be set up in such form to set up so that the mayor was a figurehead per se, but as long as you and the city manager were too close
and tight, in cahoots with one another, as old folk would say.
Yeah.
Y'all could still will and deal with the money.
Well, yeah, you can still make a lot of things happen.
Cut deals.
Right. So
not godly deals, but under the table type deals.
So the committee that was put together saw that taking place, and they were trying to put restraints in. They went out and found examples of other cities that use different types of city managers, form of governments. And I thought they came up with a pretty good rendition of what it should be. But for some reason, the city attorney was a part of the final development of the charter. Mm-hmm. And as it turned out, it appeared that the city attorney finalized the way that it was written up, and it was presented back to the council to pass it before it went on the ballot. Well, it's my opinion that the council really didn't study it. They just rubber stamped it and put it on the ballot. And it basically made the mayor a ceremonial
position. The mayor's position is more ceremonial than actually policy decision making.
And the city manager now today in Prairie View maintains the mayor's office, where the mayor used to have an office. Well, this mayor does not have an office in City Hall, and this mayor does not have a key to City Hall.
So wait a minute now, hold on here. Now, so you're saying that when they sought to restructure for whatever socio-political economic reasons, two things occurred. Number one, the position of mayor became more ceremonial.
That's correct.
Than actually authoritative.
Yes.
And then secondly, you were not even given keys, physical keys, to get into City Hall. So you couldn't even get into an office. So the mayor is almost a total figurehead. That's what they're trying to create.
Well, as of today, it is.
Yeah.
And, here again, I'm here as of today. I've never had a key to this city hall ever.
So, viewing audience, I know you are profoundly stunned because, as the host, I've never heard of someone getting elected to the mayoral office of a city and not being afforded the opportunity to have the keys to City Hall or an office or be given any real authority, decision-making authority. So the Rama in Alabama that's going on, the Rama that's going on in Prairie View is basically unheard of. I don't think anybody anywhere has ever heard of a mayor getting elected and he can't get the keys to an office in City Hall.
Well,
My.
Well, even the people.
Now, that sounds like some stuff that Donald Trump would do.
Well, it goes to so is a lot of the people in Prairie View.
Because Donald Trump didn't want Joe Biden to have the keys to the White House.
Well,
and he got defeated by 7 million votes.
Well, in this case, the people who voted and supported me, they can't believe it. They can't believe it today. I mean, they said they
I know the viewing audience.
I mean,
they can't believe it because I can't believe it.
I mean, it's really, to be honest about it, Reverend, it's really embarrassing. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, sure, it's embarrassing.
I mean, people call me and say, even call the city hall now, and they asking for the mayor, and she said, "Well, he's not in."
Well, I tell you what, they need to.
Well, that's the truth.
You talking about that cemetery that we talked about initially?
The slave cemetery?
Yeah. It's some folk out there living in there now. You know, some demonic folk living in the cemetery. I don't know whether you understand theological, and I'm sure you probably do, but you know in the Bible it talks about a demoniac that was living out there. That was living in the cemetery.
Right.
And when Jesus came along, he said, demons come out of it. You know? So we need to go down to Prairie View and have an exorcism.
Well, you could almost start right here today.
Yeah, we need to have Houston go into prayer, and some pastoral leaders need to get together and go to City Hall.
Well, you know, I said,
and have a prayer vigil and have an exorcism of City Hall down in Prairie View.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, "Mayor, I can't believe you don't have a key. I know you just saying that, but I said, I tell you what,
unreal.
I said I'm gonna go in and set up. They have the flags up in front of City Hall. I said, I'm gonna take me a table, a desk,
and put it out in
and
front.
an umbrella. And I'm gonna sit my desk up in a tent and set up my desk in front of City Hall and put mayor up.
And call down the power of God.
I mean, trust me, like I said, people really all over cannot even believe that. And the good part about it, I can't say this so, the city manager says to the staff, he will work with the mayor. He's not intending to his role is to work with the mayor because he understands what's going on.
He's not there to
he's not there.
Instigate and perpetuate conflict.
Right, he was not a part of that.
So they hired a city manager.
Interim city manager.
Hired an interim city manager in order to mitigate the power of the mayor's office.
Yes.
So what hue is the city mayor? I mean, color.
The mayor?
No, I mean the city manager.
He's African American.
Okay, so they did hire a city manager that was black.
Well, the city secretary
Yeah.
served. She served.
Controls the agenda.
Right. Well, she served as the city manager for about 7 days until we had a special election. I mean, a special meeting to actually
and hire a city manager.
the city interim city manager.
Yeah, on the interim.
And he
basis.
accepted the position until we and he
What's
said,
his background? Economist, businessman.
yeah, he's business. He owns some businesses. He's worked in finance. He owns
So
some
his
business.
background is
He understands the
money management.
Right, money management. He understands the field operation pretty good. So he's had some experience,
Right.
and I feel really good with him because, like I say, he does that.
Sure, you can work with him.
Right, I feel so far.
If you can get the keys.
Well, he doesn't. He thinks that that's not good either. But right now, I don't have the full support of the city council because I mean,
Why is that? Why do you think that you got 5 members of city council?
Yes,
They're black.
all black.
And obviously, for some reason or another, they feel that they can't work with the mayor or something. So what's going on?
Well, first of all of them except one.
Ran for mayor?
No. Were all
How many of them ran for mayor?
none ran. Not none of the council members
Ran for mayor. Okay.
But the thing about it was, all of the council members, except one, is new. He ran the same time I ran for mayor. He won, and I won. But the rest of the council members, 4 of the council members, were already on the city council, and they were accustomed to
the confusion.
Well, yes, but they were accustomed to the mayor running the city because this is the first year that we've had the
a city manager form of government.
Right. So they were accustomed to the city secretary running the city the way that she was running the city, and I think that for whatever reason, I get the feeling that the city workers, employees, felt a little below, because at one time I think someone even wrote a letter, put an anonymous letter together and said how she was treating the staff, and they didn't like that, but they didn't sign their name on it. It was just a letter that got circulated that how she was treating the staff. But she doesn't live in Prairie View. I think she lives in Tomball.
So the white city secretary doesn't live in Prairie View?
No.
Where she live?
I believe she lives in Tomball.
So she lives in Tomball.
Right. I believe it is.
Not among the people.
No.
Not of the people, neither live with the people.
Right. And she doesn't look like
have
the people.
Power
over the people. Well, Prairie View, again, yesterday was really kind of touching to me because it being out there where we were, it was a really somber feeling to me because my mind was really thinking about slavery, that being a plantation. In Prairie View, it was a plantation. So was a Prairie View A&M University. You familiar with Matthew Gaines?
Oh, right.
So that whole deal with being out there and just thinking about what I'm going through.
But because it was a plantation, you shouldn't have a plantation mentality.
Well, we shouldn't.
Right.
But see,
especially not in the 21st century.
Well, but still, when you come up in that, when those graves are still breed some things out there. I mean, and the mentality of a lot of the people are still. And another thing that I discovered from being an outsider, they used to call me when I came into Prairie View and got involved. I was kind of considered an outsider because I didn't go to Prairie View, not being from Texas, and then got involved in the city government. I was the first person that worked at the university to even run for public office. There was an unwritten law that if you worked at the university, you didn't get involved in local politics.
In politics.
So I challenged that through the A&M
So
system.
you were supposed to be a part of the Ebony Tower,
Yes, sir.
not the Ivory Tower, but the Ebony Tower.
Yes.
And you don't get involved in local community
No,
affairs,
no.
because the university is not there to serve the community.
No, that was
It's
that
there
was
to
the
serve
feeling.
itself.
Right, that was the feeling, and that's why I use the analogy about getting the students involved in designing my house because I just didn't understand that. I mean, I'm from Arkansas, and we just had a different bringing
Kind
up.
of different
Yeah,
kind
country.
of upbringing and understanding about life.
And I never understood. I still don't understand. I mean, we still, even today, you can still have that feeling that there are some people that feel like they're a little bit above the people that, cut hay and live in the rural areas of Prairie View.
Yeah, cut the grass and work on the cars and
Yeah,
all
right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yes.
But one thing we do know, in the sight of God, equal is equal,
That's right.
not more or less equal,
That is correct.
because death is the great equalizer.
That's it. And
It's appointed.
And I always say, I feel one thing about this whole situation, I know where my heart is. And, I try my best every day to think about really serving the people, not
Doing the right
doing
thing.
the right thing. And a lot, it's really hard. It's really hard to do that and to say no. And you try to say yes and help people, and people are really, right now, in our neighborhood, there's a section, a group of Hispanics that are now moving into Prairie View. The rooftops are going up, and they are moving in fast, being underserved in many cases, and one section in the city of Prairie View was overlooked.
And they're probably building homes.
They are building nice homes.
Yeah, because they're builders.
Yeah, they build and they work together.
And they work together.
They work together. And I see it in my neighborhood, the neighborhood that I live in. On the weekend, they come over and they help each other build. They build and they move and they help go to the next
If you're a
one.
plumber,
That's right. And they come
you're
together.
an electrician. Yeah, they work together. There's
They
no
do.
question about it.
And like I said, have nice homes.
Yeah.
Now, there's one section that some of them like to live in mobile homes. That's style.
That's their lifestyle.
Right, but that's one area. It's called Villa Capri that has been overlooked, and the city just allowed them to just live. And I said, one of the things I went over during the campaign season, I went over and some of them had paid for permits and no service. They got documents showing that they paid their fees and no service.
Mm.
And I went over and met with them and talked with them. I said, look, if I can win this election,
I commit to you
I commit
that
we're going to get this straight.
it's not going to be the case.
And I met with them, and once I saw them having paid porta cans outside of the houses because the city has no sewage, but paid for their permits in the former mayor not even provided them the services that they needed. I couldn't understand that. And we had just passed a bond issue, and they said, we're going to get to it. My thing is, why did we take their money
And not provide
the services? And by the time at the end of the campaign season, I got an endorsement from the community. They came out and supported me. And they support me even coming to city council meetings. They are there. And I guess one gentleman over there, Julio, I call him the mayor. He handles, he interprets. And a lot of them can't even speak English.
Yeah.
But I got a good support
relationship.
Relationship.
Well, let me ask you this, Mayor. What do you see as your legal course of action to correct what is obviously dysfunctionality legally?
Well, right now I have contacted the Attorney General's office, and there are some things that are being put in place, but I'm taking it one day at a time because, see, obviously when people stack the deck and they think you don't know the game, they continue to play the game. They don't really, because like I said, I've been sitting in the bleachers for a few years watching the game and filming the game too.
Right.
So I got a lot of film, and I got a lot of notes and statistics on what's been going on, documentation of what's been going on. And see, one thing that people in Prairie View know that I document. When you give me something, I want it in writing. I don't want that. I want to see it in writing.
You don't want that lip.
I want to write it. And that's one of the things that they know, that people in Prairie View know, that I got stacks of paper, man, notes on pieces of paper that I come up with.
Well, how could a small town that's primarily black get so confused and corrupt? What happened? How is it that in such a small area adjacent to a large, thriving metropolitan area like Houston, with all of the resources, Texas Southern University has a law school, there are all kinds of lawyers, and yet you got a white lawyer driving from Austin to how in God's name, how that so much corrupt, immoral confusion can transpire when you're so close to, in close proximity to so many different kinds of resources?
Well, we can come up with a lot of thoughts in our minds of why, reason in your mind, and I can't say because I couldn't say.
Can't pinpoint one thing.
I can't say yes, this is it, because now some things I can, but some things I can't. I can just
but tell us
assume
some of what you think is the case. Because like I said, it's mind-boggling to even think that 40 miles away at the most, Texas Southern University has a law school. And you can't get somebody from the law school at Texas Southern to handle the legal affairs. You got to get some person of a different hue and cultural, ethnic background to drive all the way from Austin.
Well, let's do it better than that. We have 2 attorneys right in Prairie View, and they look like us.
Black.
Yes, sir. But
so give us a feel for why you think such confusion.
Well, let me.
Because that's the only thing you can.
Well, let me say.
Call it is confusion exists.
Well, oftentimes confusion causes situation to be what it ended up being. Divide and conquer. You familiar with that? And we learned how to divide and conquer as we were divided and conquered. Right?
We learned how to play the
same game.
We
learned how to play the same game in our own neighborhood. But then the game changes when those that taught us the game and we play the game with them if it's necessary. So I feel that In this case, I looked at the situation with the home rule and the charter, in the charter of defining the fine line of interpretation and putting it on paper and people pass it. Many of the people told me that they didn't even vote for the amendment to the charter to get a manager because they didn't understand it. It was confusing even on the ballot. And it was by design it was confusing on the ballot.
So the people who ended up invariably voting for a city manager form of government didn't even know what they were voting for.
They didn't. Even people that actually voted for it were saying, I didn't know that was going to be like that. Yeah, I wouldn't.
The mayor wouldn't have the authority to.
Right. They didn't understand that. They just thought that the manager was just going to be somebody they were bringing in to help manage the day-to-day operation. The mayor was still going to be the mayor, still doing this thing.
The mayor still had the authority.
Right. They didn't understand that. And I mean, things that if you look at it, it takes the mayor's name out and the city manager's name is over the top of the struck out. So, but you know, as I work with this interim manager, I mean, I'm really okay because it really gives me an opportunity to really get out. Because right now, I'm in touch with USDA, Civil Rights Division, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of agencies that I've been involved with. At one time, I was president of the Texas Conference of Black Mayors. Helped establish that organization in Texas. I was on the board of directors for the National Conference of Black Mayors. So I have a lot of contact, you know, throughout. Statewide and national. And having those kind of contact and experiences. I mean, I have mayors calling me right now from all over the country, Leverette. Man,
what's going on?
What's going on, man?
So
I saw you.
We like Marvin Gaye.
Yeah. So what's going on? So
we got to ask the question. What's going on?
We understand you don't even have a key to City Hall. I don't believe it. What's happening with this? I mean, you know, and see, one of the things I don't know where I get all my thoughts from, but we created a situation with the National Conference of Black Mayors when I was a part of it. It's called Big City, Little City Help Program. A lot of small, that was back then, a lot of small cities like Prairie View, rural cities, didn't have police cars, weapons, fire department. We got our first pumper truck from Washington, D.C. when we started our fire department called Marion Barry was the mayor at the time. And he actually sold it to us for $1. And we had an alumni named Calvin Rolock that paid for us to ship the truck back from D.C. I mean, and we awarded him a ceremonial fire hat for him doing that. You know, he was a keynote speaker at convocation. But we came up with ways to help do things, but a lot of this stuff is going away now. I mean, we like you said, we've forgotten. You know, we've grown so, and we want to be like somebody else.
Forgotten from whence we've come.
Right. And I just as I said, coming back, it's hard for me to just. I just gotta figure this out because I stay up late at night, man. I'm trying to figure something.
So you done had a lot of sleepless nights since May 7th.
A lot of sleepless nights. I'm up at night making notes. You know, I got a pad next to my bed. I think of something, I'll write it down.
Well, viewing audience, you have been listening to and watching the mayor of Prairie View talk about leadership in Prairie View and confusion in Prairie View, and how after being elected as mayor on May 7th, he's trying to provide a new vision for City Hall and for the city of Prairie View. So tell the viewing audience 2 or 3 things that you want to do for Prairie View in the next couple of years, man.
Well, first of all, we need to, in Prairie View, we're going to reorganize Prairie View. The whole administrative system is going to have to be reorganized, redirected, because we are in the limelight of some great things. We got to understand what our strengths and weaknesses are. Our strengths, we have the only institution of higher learning in Waller County. That's number one. The largest payroll.
Connected to one of the premier university systems in the country, Texas A&M.
Right. And we have to understand how we can take advantage of that to our advantage, not just for the university, but for the city of Prairie View.
Right.
Right now, I'm in for homecoming. The band stopped even marching through the city. We gotta change that.
Right. Bring that back.
Yeah, why?
Where you can kind of
you gotta
get the university more involved with the community, so that it becomes a communiversity,
right,
rather than a university.
And see, we've had our past mayor. If you look on the website, everything is about Prairie View A&M University. Everything, every picture, the colors, black, purple and gold. Everything is purple and gold. I mean, there's nothing wrong with purple and gold because those are my fraternity colors.
Right.
But at the same time, for us to, the city is the city, and the university is inside of the city of Prairie View.
Right.
So we have to.
And really, the university is there. It exists to serve the community.
Correct.
It doesn't exist to serve itself. Now, since Prairie View, the university, is a part of one of the two premier university systems in the state. Texas A&M has enormous resources, so it seems to me that one of the things you might want to try to do, Mayor, is to develop a more open and transparent relationship with that Texas A&M system, because they are not too throwed off, because this little old Dylan Roof, who drove with his mother, really his mother driving him all the way from Illinois to Wisconsin, and he goes and kills two individuals and almost shoots the arm off of another individual. He applied, I guess, in his mind to Texas A&M. They said, "Oh no."
No, I saw that.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse is his name. And he applied to. He said to Texas, but they said, "Oh no. He's not been here." Texas A&M got some sense. They said, "Oh no." So later on, it came out that he applied to Blinn Community College, and that's supposed to be a feeder community college into Texas A&M, and that's where he's going to school. So look, Mayor, we have about 2 minutes left. So in the next minute and a half, tell us succinctly what Mayor Ron Leverette has in store for Prairie View over the next couple of years, in about a minute.
My vision is to unite the powers and the people to make Prairie View the city that it can be, a city that the state of Texas can be proud of. I mean, because we're unique. We
and cut out the Rama in Alabama.
Right. We don't need that. We have enough
external confusion.
Yes, we do.
That we have to contend with.
So we have to come together and really develop and understand what we have and make it work, because it's right there. We have land all around Prairie View. I mean, I'm telling you that to be developed. People are now coming to see that Prairie View is the place to be, and people are moving in.
And it's like I said, the university is, moving on up. Well, Mayor, it's been my pleasure and the pleasure of UHN to have you you want to do the right thing. You're doing the right thing, and God bless you. And we'll have you come back and visit with us. And Houston, keep your paper in your car. God loves you. We love you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much for having me.